This is going to be a workout circuit that I do with patients once to twice a week. It's a total body workout. Each station we typically do anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll go through a second time and we'll do usually about half as long or half as many reps. If I'm doing it on my own, I typically just want to get to fatigue with each exercise. So I want to get some amount of fatigue before I move on to the next station. Most of the way this is organized is going to be pairing opposing movements. So as I do it, as I work one thing, the thing right after that is typically working opposite muscles, so I don't really need to take a rest break. And I can be really efficient with my time, so this doesn't take very long. So this is going to be 10 movements. I do a little warm-up typically before this. It's going to be in another video, and then we run through this. If you're doing this in a gym and you can't necessarily jump from like 10 different exercises, I'd recommend pairing 2 of them together at a time and doing maybe one set of one set of the other, going back to half as many on each one, and then move to the next 2. But you know, if you're able to, you set it up, go from one station to the next. So I'm going to run through it. I'm going to do each one kind of briefly, and then you'll see further down the list in this page, I'm going to have each individual exercise with more specific instruction. So starting off, I'm going to go to shoulder press. And a couple important things. I just want to make sure any type of overhead pressing movement, there's a tendency for me to arch my back. So when I step in here, I try and make sure my butt is tucked underneath me. And all of these reps, I try and do a very slow and controlled negative, right? And especially with the shoulder press, I really try and make sure as I'm pressing, I'm not falling into this hyperextension, but keeping my butt tucked underneath me. Slow and controlled, anywhere in the 5 to 20 reps, or somewhere in the 30 to 60 seconds. And from here, I'm going to go to Lat Pulldown. Similar concept. I try and lean back just slightly. I don't want to fall into that same hyperextension in my lower back, so just a slight lean back. And I'm going to pull slowly just underneath my chin, because I don't want to go to where I feel like my shoulder blades are tipping forward. And then same thing, usually a 3 to 5 second negative. All the way up, initiate the pull by sucking my shoulder blades down, just under my chin, trying to avoid that back hyperextension, and slow and controlled back up. And then from here, I'm going to head to a TRX push-up. Now if you don't have a TRX, you can always just do a push-up on the ground or some variation. Straighten this down a little bit. With the TRX, I can adjust how difficult the push-up is by making it a little easier, have myself a little bit more angled upright. The further I go down towards the floor, the more of a challenge. Once again, I try and make sure I'm not letting my back sag, back is flat, and I'm slowly coming down as deep as I can into this push-up. And then as I press out of it, I'm really making sure that my shoulders don't hike up towards my ears, so I keep my elbows tucked down just a little. Once again, slowly down into it, making sure as I initiate that press, I keep a little bit of a downward angle of my elbows. So not flaring out here, not necessarily all the way in at my side, but somewhere in the middle. One more. Get that one. Same slow and controlled on the lowering into that position. And then I'm going to come over here to a low row. I like the lower position for the row because it gets me to engage a little bit more of my glute and hamstring. So I'm going to grab this handle. Okay. Opposite leg will be in front with just a slight bend in the knee. And as I let myself reach down into this row, I try and keep a pretty flat back, and I feel a little tension in my hamstring and hip on this side as then I come back into the row. And you'll see I try and get a little bit of trunk rotation. So even my hand without the resistance is going to reach back, so I get some rotation through my mid-back, tension in my front hamstring glute as I pull back into the row. Nice and slow coming out of it, and then slowly coming back into the row. This arm, just notice I'm not letting that shoulder hike up. I'm only pulling as far as I can to where I'm sucking the shoulder blade down, not letting myself come up into that arm up towards my ear, or shoulder towards my ear. Once again, as this hand reaches, my opposite hand reaches back, and they pass each other as I come back into the row. All right, 4 stations down. Next to the air dive, so something that just in between gets my heart rate up a little bit, gets me to sweat a little bit. Nothing super complicated about the aerodyne except for I want to sit up tall. I'm using my hands to push and pull, and I'm trying to make sure as I'm doing that I still keep my shoulders down. I don't want to start to let that hike up towards my ear. So this is usually going to be same thing, that 30 to 60 seconds, picking up as much speed as I can. All right, now we head to the lower body portion. So single leg deadlift. If your hamstrings are flexible enough, I like using a small step so that this kettlebell doesn't hit the floor. My knee is just slightly bent, and I do want to hold on firmly for this. And I want to make sure, same idea, that 4 to 5 seconds down where I feel tension in my hamstring, and then I'm slowly coming back up out of that position. Just so you can see me from behind. I want to make sure that I let myself hold on to this so that I do let myself lean a little, because I'm not holding on here. I want to shift over that stance leg. I want to keep my pelvis square, slight bend in the knee that I'm standing on, feel tension in my hamstring, more of the pressure on my heel of the stance leg, and then come back up. All right into the goblet squat. So weight underneath my chin, feet a little bit beyond hip width. Whatever position of your feet is most comfortable. You could be toe out, you could be straight, you could be somewhere in the middle. And I want to try and keep my back pretty upright as I drop down into my heels. And I want to go as far as my hips will let me. So I don't want to go to where my back rounds or my butt tucks underneath me. I want to keep a neutral back as I go in and out of that position. So same idea, nice and slow, keeping my back as flat as I can. I feel like right there's a little tightness in my hips. So that's going to be the bottom limit of my squat. One more time. Talking and doing this stuff is a little bit challenging, even just doing 3 of them. All right, from the goblet squat to some single leg balance stuff. Band around my ankle. Hopefully we don't run out of video here. Standing here, I'm pulling my band out to the side, right? Letting my foot drift in front, and as it comes in front, my opposite hand comes across, very slowly coming out, and then back to where it touches me on the front of the shin that I'm standing on. Slow and controlled, really trying to make sure that I don't let my back fall into any hyperextension. And I'm not coming way out to the side here. I want to make sure my shoulders stay square, and I don't have any tip over this leg that I'm standing on. So when this leg drifts across, I kind of let myself sag down here a little bit, and then I pull out slowly. You should feel this in the leg that you're standing on, tapping on the ankle. Very slow and controlled. All right, 2 more. This one has 2 options. All right, option 1 is feet up on the ball in a push-up position. Okay, same idea of keeping my back nice and flat. Easier version is going to be just bringing the knees up towards the chest. Fingers nice and wide, elbows tucked in a little bit. Harder version would be taking my butt up towards the ceiling and then coming down slow. So either one of these is fair game. Either knees, or make sure here I'm not letting my shoulders round up towards my ear, but I keep my elbows tucked down. I'll either do that one, or if you have a pull-up bar, I like to do any hanging stuff from the pull-up bar that I can. So these 2 would be either or. I don't do both of these. I drop down, and then instead of just letting my shoulders go up towards my ears, I pull down a little bit to suck my shoulder blades down, and I just come knees up towards my chest. Nice and slow. Now a harder version of this one that I may start off doing a couple of, as I try and come up, I have to really tuck my elbows in to engage my lat, and I'll try and take feet up, all the way up. So I may do like 3 to 4 of those, and then burn out, and then just go back to doing the knees to the chest. Or if I get really tired, I may just hold the shoulder blades down and just hang for whatever's left in that sequence. All right, last one. To the floor, into a side plank, fingers spread nice and wide, feet lined up heel to toe, shoulder blade down, just a little sag of my pelvis towards the floor, and then back up to neutral. Key here is that my shoulder does not go towards my ear. I keep my shoulder down. And it's just a small sag and back up. I can make this easier by putting my hand up on a higher surface, like a weight bench, or I could come down onto my knees, which ultimately will make the movement a little easier. But I want to make sure that I keep my body very erect and I don't let that shoulder go towards my ear. All right, 10 moves, twice through, should be a pretty good workout for you.